Watching cameras all night teaches you one thing. You don't always want to see everything. Story 1. I've worked night surveillance at Green Hill Mall for 3 years. Most nights are the same, staring at grainy feeds, sipping lukewarm coffee, and dismissing false alarms. But 2:47 a.m. on October 12th? That night, the cameras saw something no human should. It started with feed 12, which covers the third-floor food court, a dead zone since the mall closed at 10 p.m. I noticed a flicker, like heat haze, though the HVAC system was off. Then a shadow shifted. Not a person shadow, a jagged liquid black thing slithering across the tile. I leaned closer. "Hello?" I called, though the mics were for emergencies only. My voice bounced off the monitors. The shadow paused. Then it turned. I switched to feed 9, the stairwell adjacent to the food court. Empty. I zoomed, my breath fogging the screen. Nothing. Just then, feed 12 glitched. A green static ripple. And there it was again, oozing toward the escalator. My chair creaked as I stood. "Maintenance?" I radioed, but the line hissed silence. Dead shift. Dead staff. Back to feed 12. The thing had solidified into a figure now. Hunched, elongated limbs, a headless torso crowned with spiky hair. It reached the escalator and fell through. The camera panned down, of course. The third-floor escalator leads nowhere. I slammed the desk. "Glitch. Right," I muttered, switching to feed 4, which monitors the basement storage. A cold sweat prickled my neck. The figure was there. In the basement. It wasn't supposed to exist. I grabbed my flashlight and went down. The mall's skeleton hummed around me. Pipes, dust, the stench of old pizza. Door 4B was ajar. I pushed it open. Nothing. But the camera. Feed 4 showed the figure, facing me, its head turning toward the lens. I backed out, heart thudding. When I returned, the security line still didn't work. I sat down, trembling, and checked feed 4 again. Empty. Then the screen flickered. A child's cartoon played, Dora the Explorer, but the audio was a low, wet gurgle. The figure reappeared, closer now, its limbs stretching like spider legs. It pressed against the camera. The feed cut to snow. I didn't sleep. At sunrise, I reported the footage. My supervisor laughed. "Vandalism, or you need less caffeine." But when I pulled up the recordings, they were gone. The files had vanished, leaving 90 seconds of blankness between 2:47 a.m. and 4:12 a.m. They say there's no surveillance in the mall's basement, that the blueprints don't include door 4B. But every night, I check feed 4, just to be sure whatever was there stays there. Mostly, I check feed 12. The escalator's been closed for years, but sometimes, in the corner of the frame, something shifts, and I'm certain it knows I'm watching. Story 2. I've watched over these halls for 7 years. Concrete, steel, fluorescent hum. My world since night shift began at Willow Creek Psychiatric. The cameras don't lie, they say, but I know better now. It started on the 3rd of November. Cold rain hammered the roof. I was reviewing room 12, all empty, beds stripped, when the corner camera in the West Wing corridor flickered. Static. Then, clear again. A figure stood at the far end. I leaned closer. Tall. Slumped. Dressed in the old-style hospital gown, long sleeves, buttoned down the back. The kind they stopped using 10 years ago. No patient wears those. I checked the logs. No keycard swipe. No motion alert. The door hadn't opened. I hit the intercom, switched to camera 34. The hall was empty. "Must have been a glitch," I muttered, though my hands were sweating. It came back the next night. Same time, same corridor. This time the figure was closer. Head tilted, face blurred, like oil smeared across a lens. But the arms, they were wrong. Too long. Fingers dragged the tile, leaving smears that vanished by dawn. I notified security. They found nothing. No footprints. No fingerprints. Just a faint odor. Wet earth and antiseptic. By the 5th night, I stopped speaking to the others. They thought I was cracking under the shift load. Maybe I was. Then came the basement feed. Camera 6, sub-level storage, had been offline for months. But at 2:13 a.m., it came back on. There it stood. In the center of the room. Facing the lens. No blinking. No breathing. Just watching. And behind it, shelves of old patient files stacked to the ceiling. One drawer hung open, labeled unassigned. I zoomed in. The label changed. Now it read, J. Doe, deceased. October 31st, 2013. I never had a middle initial J, but I remembered that date. My father died that Halloween, found in a flooded ditch near the old asylum, what this place used to be. I pulled the file. Empty, except for a single photo. A man in a tattered gown, face unrecognizable, standing in a hallway. Behind him, the exact same crack in the wall I see every night on camera 34. The timestamp on the photo, 2:17 a.m. Tomorrow. I called the night supervisor. Voicemail. Tried the emergency line. Dead. The cameras began glitching, whole grids going black, then flickering to life with scenes that weren't real. Hallways stretching too long. Doors where there were none. And in every frame, closer now, right outside the control room door. I checked camera 1, the wide shot of my own room. There I sat, typing, calm. But I wasn't typing. And the man in the screen, his head slowly turned, not toward the door, toward me. I tore my eyes away. The real door handle rattled. Outside, something scraped, like fingernails or bone on metal. The monitor flashed again. Now the figure was inside the control room on screen, standing behind my digital self, reaching over. Its hand passed through my pixelated shoulder, and in the reflection on the blackened window beside me, I saw it. Not on screen. Here. Real. The last camera still working is pointed at me now. I don't know who'll see this. But if you're watching, don't blink. It moves when you do. Story 3. I've watched more hours of empty hallways than I've slept in the past 5 years. That's the life of a night shift CCTV operator. Fluorescent silence, stale coffee, and rows of monitors showing nothing. At least, that's what I thought. It started Tuesday. Warehouse 7, Sector C, Camera 14. Static fuzz for an hour. Then the image snapped back. Nothing unusual. Gray concrete, stacked pallets, a single loading bay door sealed tight. But in the lower right corner, just near the dumpster, something dark pooled on the floor. Oil? I dismissed it. Then it moved. Not flowed. Crawled. Like a clot of ink dragging itself across the cement, leaving a slick trail that didn't reflect the overhead lights. I leaned closer. The feed was grainy, but I swear it pulsed. Then, for 3 frames, just 0.06 seconds, the shape lifted. It wasn't a puddle. It had limbs. Too many. Bent wrong. I checked the logs. No motion sensors triggered. No access codes scanned. Wednesday night, the same camera. 2:17 a.m. The dumpster was open. I never saw anyone touch it. From inside, something dripped. Black. Thick. But the substance didn't fall to the ground. It rose. Slithered up the dumpster's side like spider silk in reverse, then vanished over the edge. I called security. They walked the sector. "Nothing here," said Reyes over the radio. "Lights are on. All doors locked." I watched them on camera. One passed right over the spot where the black thing had been. His shadow stretched long. Too long. For a second, it didn't match his movement. It twitched. Independent. I didn't sleep. Thursday, I stayed late. Watched camera 14 like a hawk. At 3:03, the feed glitched. The screen tore vertically, like a zipper opening. Behind the static, for a single frame, I saw a face. Not human. Mouth stretched wide across what should have been eyes. Then the feed snapped back. But the hallway was different. The lights were off. Not just off, absent. As if darkness had eaten the bulbs. And standing in the center, facing the camera, was a figure. Tall, too tall, its head nearly brushing the ceiling. Its skin, no, not skin, glistened like wet tar. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. It just stared. I pulled up the live feed. The lights were on. The hallway was empty. But on the recording from 30 seconds ago, the thing was still there. Watching. I replayed it. And replayed it. On the 5th loop, I noticed something new. Behind the figure, near the wall, the shadow of the pallet racks. It was moving. Not from wind, not from flickering lights. It was reaching. Reaching toward the thing. As if offering. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I answered. Silence. Then, a wet, guttural whisper. Like words being dragged over gravel. You see us. I dropped the phone. When I looked back at the monitors, every single camera feed showed the same image. The warehouse hallway. The tar-black figure. And this time, its hand was raised. Index finger pointing. Directly at the camera. I turned. Behind me, the office door creaked open. No one there. But on the floor, a dark, glistening smear. Leading under my desk. And now something's breathing, not mine. Something's